The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Caldwell, on your new apparatus, job number 29686. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start with the front bumper. On the passenger side, there are dual air horns. Moving just inward of that location, you'll find two closed tow hooks on the right and left hand side. Moving all the way to the driver's side, you'll find a recessed mechanical siren. Moving up from that area up onto the top of the bumper, you'll find a front bumper discharge. Just inside of that location, you'll find an access door for your tubbed hose storage. Moving up to the outer edges of the front body, you'll find a right and left turn indicator. Moving just inside that on the face, you'll find a low and high beam, low on the outside, high beam on the inner. Above from that, in this cluster, you'll find your left and right turn arrows, and just inside in that same cluster, you'll find two emergency warning lights. Moving up onto the front, just underneath the windshield, you'll find two grab handles. And just inside, you'll find three windshield wipers across your seamless windshield. We'll talk a little bit about more as we get further on about your mirrors, but let's look up to the very top of the brow of the apparatus. You're going to find 5 running lights. Moving just inside of that location, you have 2 right and left fixed forward-facing floodlights. Just inside in the center, you'll find the location of your forward-facing camera. Up on the very top, a full-length light bar. And in the very center of your light bar, you'll find your opticom. Let's go ahead and take a generalized view of the apparatus on the side. There are warning lights associated on the side of your apparatus. These are 2 of those locations. Moving up to the very top, you're going to find 2, one mid-cab and one at the very back. These are going to be side-facing floodlights. They're exactly the same on the opposite side of the vehicle, passenger side. Let's go ahead and talk about this cluster of lights. This is your tank lights, indicating your amount of water in the actual apparatus tank. Generalized view of the rear of the apparatus. We'll talk a little bit more of its components. Same thing on this side, which is the passenger side. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the components within inside each of the compartments. And this is a side view of the passenger side. Let's go ahead and start with the front bumper, and we'll take a look underneath at the very bottom of the front bumper. As you can see, this is your diameter intake here, or correction, discharge. This is the hose that's feeding that. The important part here is just on the very left-hand side of the image. This is the passenger side. This is the drain location. Generalized view of the TAC4 suspension underneath in additional components. On the left and right side of the bumper, you'll find a warning light. Back up onto the top, generalized view of the top of your apparatus here from the front. This is going to be your front discharge. It has the capability of flowing water and foam at the same time. Generalized view here once again of your dual air horns. And then we have an image here of those tow hooks that are located in the front. These are access points or tow hooks. They are closed. Mechanical siren located on the driver's side. Let's take a look just in the center. In this tubbed area, you'll find a small cutout on the far left-hand side, passenger side. This is for hose storage, and then this in compartment door is in the open position, will allow you to access that fully compartment with that hose that's located in there. Also on this side, you'll find your left warning light. Generalized view at the top section of your apparatus, of the brow, you'll see the running lights in addition to the forward-facing lights. This is going to be that forward-facing camera that has a display in the center console of your apparatus, and we'll talk about that. In the top, in the light bar, this is your opticom system. Generalized view of the driver's side. Let's start in the very front. Let's start at the step location for the operator. Stepping into the cab here, you'll find there is illumination here with a step light, in addition with an air inlet
for maintaining air pressure within your air brake system. You'll find your Goodyear G296 MSA tires. In the very center of that, you'll find your Stemco hub seal that has a visual indicator. Moving up to the very top, you'll find on all doors accessed a locking door mechanism for keyed access. This is going to be your side, right, and left cameras. Located in the very center in the red, this is your auto eject shore inlet. This is going to be a 30 amp shore inlet. Once again, auto eject. Talk a little bit about the mirrors here. You have an upper and lower section. The lower section is convex. The upper portion is going to be flat. Let's go ahead and take a look at the upper portion of the body. You'll find these 4 lights. These are your indicator lights for your tank, indicating from full to empty. They're on the right and left-hand side of the apparatus mid-cab area. This is going to be a view of the passenger side. Let's look in the step well here. Just beneath the step on the passenger side, you'll find your front discharge drain. It's located in this area, and there's also lighting for perimeter lights. Up on the very top, both right and left side, you'll find this for your tank indicators for the amount of water in your tank from full to empty. Generalized view, we'll talk a little bit about the pump panel. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner of your pump panel. This is a warning label regarding looking into the center of the eye of the pump. This is going to be a 3-step area here. This is a intake, discharge, and drain for your foam system. Located in the very center behind the eagle here, large diameter intake. And just a very top here, this is going to be your offside large diameter intake. This is your override. Moving down to the left side here, you'll find a 2.5-inch intake. In addition, with this in yellow, you'll also find, I think I mentioned intake, discharge. This is an override for that discharge. Just beneath that, you'll find an additional discharge, 2.5-inch. And just next to that, you'll find the override for that discharge. The purpose of the overrides is because you have electronic valves that control that valve. This is a way to override that system. Also located here is going to be your CAFS system air outlet. Moving to the right is your auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch inlet. And just beneath that, you'll find once again an additional override for that inlet. Down at the very bottom, you're going to find across the bottom, you'll find your 4 drain valves associated with each of those individual discharges or intakes. Let's talk a little bit about some of the levers on the right-hand side of your pump panel here, just tucked underneath this area. But first, let's take a look at a close-up. This is that foam function here for inlet, strainer, and discharge. Generalized view of the pump here. Here's a close-up of those discharge valves. And once again, here is in the center the CAFS air outlet with the chain that's wrapped around it. Large diameter just at the very top, and then 2.5-inch intake just below. These are the manifold drain and flush valve drain. These are on the right-hand side of that pump panel, as I mentioned earlier. And at the very bottom, this is going to be your foam pump drain and also your manifold drain. Let's take a look just underneath. This is a step that is in the currently closed position. By opening the lever, this will allow the step to be unfolded, which it just folds outward away from the apparatus, which gains full access to the tread for stepping on this area. We're going to move back to the cab itself. At the very top, you'll find once again next to the lights for your water tank, at the very top, a floodlight. But let's look in this roll-up door compartment. This is going to house your discharges for crosslays, in addition with backboard or longboard storage. Let's talk a little bit about some of those areas in this area, and we'll talk about the details next. As we look, you'll find in the red and also in the white, these are going to be crosslay discharges. You'll see that each one of those is independently controlled. There's also just inside of that area the location for those individual speed loads. On the right, because there's hose coming out of this area, there is a possibility of entanglement, and be aware of that. This is also location of your 2.5-inch crosslay. This lever is actually not to engage the crosslay. It is to actually open and allow that crosslay to be pulled in the outward position. It's the same on the opposite side, but let's take a look with these crosslays in their open position or accessible position. Those are with those levers depressed. At the very top of this roll-up door, you'll also find a flat webbing. This is to pull that door down. Let's move just to the rear portion of the apparatus or midsection, and let's take a look into this compartment. As we open the door, it's a two-section door. First, open the first levered door, and on the right-hand side, just at the very base of that, you'll see that black lever. The black lever is lifted in the upward position, which will allow you to gain access to the full compartment. This compartment houses a couple of things. One, storage on the very bottom, and on the very top section, this is going to be your access or steps to gain access to the very top of the pump panel area, to your closed compartment pump area. Let's go ahead and take a look at the very top. This is the door that accesses the levers and controls for your pump. Once that door is in the open position, you'll find this image here. At the very bottom, you'll find a variety of different drain valves. There are also some step lights in this area, and we'll take a look at some of these here now. These are all going to be some sort of a drain, whether it's for a crosslay, front discharge, or your pump. And in the very corner, you're going to find this access door. Behind this access door is where you'll find your foam lever for horizontal function operations, for foam for filling and for vertical for in use. You can see also this is your pump shift override behind the red switch cover and an amber light. Generalized view looking back at the door latch area in addition with the grab handles. On the left-hand side, looking at this panel here, you'll find your panel lights, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, driver's side scene, rear scene, pump compartment heater, air horn, and at the very bottom you'll find an audible alarm. Let's go ahead and move over to the next set of switches and also indicators, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those. Starting in the upper right-hand corner, you'll find your manual pump shift at the very top. You'll also find this audible alarm on the right, and the door open, pump overheat, and PCM fault. Those are two yellows and one red at the very top indicators. Generalized view of the pump area. Let's break down some of the components here and talk about the purpose of those and how to identify what they are. Let's go ahead and start at the very top upper left-hand corner. We'll start first with a CAFS warning system. This is a warning label regarding your CAFS system. To the right-hand side, this is going to be your maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi, the associated pressures and RPMs for your pump. Moving just to the right of that, please utilize your manual prior to operating this apparatus or moving any of the levers and controls. And down at the very left-hand side, let's start with this. This is your pump gauge heater. It is a red indicator light and it is automatic. To the right of that, you're going to find your foam A tank vision, indicates the level of your foam. In the blue section here, you're going to find your compressor and Hercules CAFS system. In the red section here, just next to that, this is going to be your Pierce foam system. And to the right, you'll find your gray area, which is your master intake, master discharge. In the upper right-hand corner, this is a monitor for the cameras on your apparatus. Let's take a look once again on the left. This is that panel gauge heater and also your tank vision for your foam. Let's talk a little bit about some of the components here. On this area, you'll find switches. These are all labeled. This is your CAFS system air supply valves, and those are engaged when you choose to operate the CAFS system independently for each apparatus or each line. Moving over to the right-hand side, you'll find your master and master intake and discharge, and in the very center, located by this arrow, you'll find your test gauge ports. These are plugs currently in the position for your vacuum and pressure. Let's talk a little bit about the very top and some of the components here. Once again, this is the minimum operation maintenance schedule for your apparatus. It has the job number. It also has the PSI, RPMs, and the GPMs associated with that when it was tested. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things here on the next panel section down. All of the levers here are going to be locking levers. They are for your independent discharges, and they are labeled for each one of those, in addition with color coded. So there are 4 located in this area, as you can see across the very front. And there is also just beneath that, in between the joystick, you'll also find a warning label regarding apparatus movement. This is going to be the control or joystick here for your master stream device. To the right-hand side, you're going to find your primer for your fire pump. Moving even further to the right from that, this is going to be your Pierce information for your engine apparatus, also water tank, and the throttle control or pressure mode. Generalized view of these cross lays, you'll find your front discharge in green. And in this area, you'll find, as you see here in the front discharge, these all have the capability of foam and water. Here are specific instructions regarding your foam system. And you can see this style of device here is for your electronic valves. This one is the driver's side auxiliary inlet. And just beneath that, you're going to find the blowdown for your reel. Also, you have an extender, which is for your master stream device provided by Elkhart Brass. This is to extend your master stream above the top of your apparatus. This is the 2.5 inch highlighted here. And you'll see number 1, number 2, 3, and the large diameter passenger. These are all the electronic valves for those independent discharges. This is your master stream device. It's currently in its stored or downward position. Just to the right of this location, you're going to find your CAFS system pump. This is the compressor for your CAFS system. Also located in this area, you'll find your fill tank for your water tank. In the number A is your Class A foam, and it is a latched compartment deck. Generalized view here, looking from the front to the rear, you have covered hose bed storage in addition with covered diamond plate hard storage on both right and left-hand side of the apparatus. Let's talk about some of the compartments within your apparatus, and let's first start here with this roll-up door just past the area we talked about, which was accessing your pump panel. In this compartment here, once again, roll-up door. Once it's in the open position, you'll find a variety of things here. First, let's start with, you have rollout shelves in almost all of them. The bottom shelf is a rollout, and the two midsection here, one is fixed, but it is also adjustable. But let's look up to the very top of the top shelf, and you'll see some components at the top. This is going to be your S1 breaker panel, which stands for shore power. When your apparatus is plugged into shore power, this breaker panel is activated. Just above that in the silver is your battery charger or battery tender for the apparatus batteries of your engine. This compartment door, as you can see, is a pull-out, which also pulls downward for gaining access for tools. And you can see on the right and left-hand side, there are the attachment points. There are two black levers here to actually allow this door to be moved in its outward position. The one in the center here we're looking at, it has a gray push button on the right-hand side of the roller. And at the very bottom, there is a black push button to allow access of that drawer. Generalized view of the rear tire. Let's talk a little bit about what's in front and behind it. You have two folding chocks. There's one in front of the tire and one just behind it. But let's also take a look at some of the components within these compartments here near the rear section. As you can see, just in front of that wheel chock, your pump enclosure is fully enclosed, encompassing your entire pump. To access onto the pump, merely just unlatch and pull out the drawer underneath the very bottom to allow access to the bottom of the pump. Also to the rear section here, the rear section of the tire, referring to just the next section down, you'll find also the folding chock location, and then we'll talk about some of those attachment points in the next set of images. Located in the center of the apparatus here, you'll find these chromed or shiny compartments here. Behind those compartments, after the latch has been opened, these are going to be two locations, one on the right and left-hand side of your apparatus for bottle storage. Slightly different in the rear section, and we'll talk about those next. As you can see here, you've got bottle storage locations. Let's move to the section just to the rear of this, and this is where you're going to find an additional bottle storage location that has a safety strap, in addition with the location to fill your diesel exhaust, low sulfur diesel exhaust in the silver cap, and at the very top is the blue DEF fill in the blue cap. This is going to be an additional roll-up door, as you can see just above the emergency light in the two compartments here. This handle is lifted, which gains access for the roll-up door. Once that door is accessed, you'll find in this compartment a significant amount of storage space, but this is a shelf that pulls out and also drops in the downward position as the previous shelves did for accessing equipment. That shelf is adjustable on its current tracks. Let's look back to the very rear compartment. Same concept with the roll-up door here. Let's take a look at some of the components with inside this area. As you can see, the compartment here, the very top shelf is a pull-out, which also tilts down. The next two down below that are going to be adjustable, but they're currently fixed, positioned, and the very bottom is a roll-out shelf. Let's take a look at the upper left-hand corner here. This is going to be that shore power outlet. There are 4 locations here for accessing shore power, or 4 plugs. I think I have an image of the door in the outward position. Yes, this is in the pulled outward position. The locking mechanism for these are both on the right and left. They are the black mechanisms which allow the door to move outward. Same thing when pushing this door in the back or shelf back into its normal position, just push it back in, it locks automatically. Just past the rear tire and the wheel chock area, you'll find this attachment point. This is a attachment point for a 9,000 pound maximum allowable winch rating. Just to the right of that attachment point, you'll find a red cap. This is going to be the access point for your 12 volt for utilizing for a winch. And the cap here in red is merely a dust and water protectant. Generalized view of the rear of the apparatus. We'll talk about some of the components on the rear of the apparatus, but let's go ahead and start underneath the rear of the apparatus near the front bumper. Near the rear bumper. As we start under the rear bumper, you're also going to find there are perimeter lights located here. There is also a rear tow location, in addition with the use of an attachment point for, once again, 9,000 pound maximal allowable wrench rating. And it also has that red cap, which is your access for 12 volt power supply. Looking at the rear section of your apparatus, on the right here, you'll see your brake lights, turn indicators, and also reverse. Located in the very center, you're also going to find work lights, in addition with fold down steps. Let's go ahead and move up the location. Just above the license plate, this is going to be a right and left rear facing floodlights. We'll talk a little bit about some of the compartments and what is inside those compartments, but the compartment closest to us, just where the Pierce logo is, this is going to be your access point for a 14-foot roof ladder, in addition with a 24-foot extension ladder. Moving up from this location to the next compartment, which is just a little bit smaller above this area, you're going to find a storage compartment. There are 2 in this location, one small next to the light, and the next one just above that, there is an additional compartment. Let's talk about the compartment that's the small one. This is going to be the access point for all of your tools, for long pole tools, for example, pike poles in this area. Moving just up from this location here where the pike poles are stored, you'll find your large diameter intake hoses. That's the next compartment at the very top. This is its storage locations here. Let's go ahead and move all the way to the opposite side. Rear section of your apparatus is a generalized view. This is going to be your access point or ladder. It's currently in the down and outward position. Although to store this ladder, simply lift the bottom rungs and it will slide and lock into position. And then to pull it backwards in toward the truck, there is a latching mechanism, which I have an image of here. This is the locking mechanism, which allows it to be put into the open position or pulled out position. Same thing with restoring it. Lift the hinged area and that will restore it back to the side of the apparatus. Right next to that, you're going to find this is your hose bed lights. This is a switch that can be controlled from the rear of the apparatus, which will also turn on the lights that are above in the hose bed area for gaining access and visual in those areas. Here's an image here with your hose bed lights in the on position. To simply turn those off, same location, hose bed switch at the very bottom. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other components directly in the center. This is going to be your traffic advisor. It's the yellow bar all the way across the top. There are also several warning indicators here on the back of the apparatus for falling off while the vehicle is in motion. And at the very top, you're also going to find some grab handles in addition with some warning lights, and at the very top, a step to gain access to the hose bed area. As we look at the very top section of this, you'll find some step lights at the very top and also additional grab handles on both the right-hand side. The very top is going to be your closure for the rolling hose bed cover. Just beneath that, on the left-hand side, you'll find additional long pole storage, for example, pike poles or other types of tools. And just above here, you'll find your 10-foot folding ladder. Let's go ahead now, move down to the very bottom, just above the step or tailboard. In the center roll-up compartment, you're going to find a rear-facing booster line or red line. There's also going to be a shelf just above that, which is a pull-out style shelf. And I have an image of that here in the next set of pictures. This is the shelf in the deployed image. You can see on the very right-hand side of this shelf, there is the locking mechanism or lever to allow you to open and close this shelf on the right-hand side. Also located on the right-hand side, just where the reel would go inside, is going to be your push button for rewinding your red line. Moving directly above this location, you'll find your rear-facing reverse camera. At the very top section here, you're also going to find some warning labels in this area for hose entanglement and the possibility of falling off. Please read those warning labels and adjust your operating procedures accordingly. Up inside in the hose bed, you're going to find a rear-facing discharge. This is also the panel that is removable for your hose bed divider. They can move left to right depending on the style of hose bed you choose to load. This is going to be the top section of your apparatus. This is that covered hose bed area. You can see the long bar in the very center. This is going to be the access point to release that cover and also to latch the cover. On the right and left side, you'll see you have independent compartments here. These are lit also, and lights will activate when you activate the hose bed lights from down below. They are both locking and sealed compartments. They're on the left and also on the right side. As you can see in this compartment, one is a little bit longer. There is also a latch, and near that latch there is also an LED work light or step light. As we look down into the section in the center, you can see the very top of your CAFS system pump. Let's take a generalized view of this area. You'll find once again the water tank. This is the fill from the top location, and just to the right of that, this is your foam tank fill for Class A foam. This is a latched compartment for Class A, but the water is not. Let's take a look at the passenger side. Same concept as the opposite side. You have this attachment point, which is the 9,000 winch rated access point, and also the red cap, which covers the electrical 12 volt access. This is going to be a roll-up compartment on the passenger side. What I'd like to move up to and look at, and I have a close-up of those images, is the shelves, as you can see, are all adjustable, currently in their fixed position. But in the upper left-hand corner, this is going to be your shoreline outlet. This is a 15 amp plug. There are 4 receptacles behind that. And what I'd like to kind of get a better view here is this 12 volt block here on the right hand side. You can see the white and gold, the red and gold tipped wire. That is going to be your 12 volt access point for if you choose to access for battery powered devices. Just underneath this compartment, or I should say in this compartment, you'll find 2 pull-out shelves. One on the left is fixed, and the one on the right has a movable pegboard area to utilize for tool storage. Let's go ahead and look just forward of that. You'll find the same configuration on the right and the left, except in the very rear section of this area, you'll find additional bottle storage. Remember, the opposite side was location of your DEF and fuel. This side has bottle storage. There is also a warning label regarding the parking of your apparatus near flammable liquids because of the hot exhaust. generalized view of your exhaust, in addition with a under section here of the automatic tire chains. They are currently in the stowed position or not activated. Those are activated on the dash. Generalized view of the side of your compartment. Once again, roll-up compartment in the center. The unique thing about this compartment is it does house a pull-out tool board. You could put tools on the front or on the back side of this. It's also adjustable from front to back, and this is the lever to return it back to storage in its stored position. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next compartment. Large compartment here, roll-up door, nice shelf configuration with some pull-out shelves, in addition with a pull-out pegboard, vertical style. Upper right-hand corner, though, has, once again, shore power outlet, 15 amp, and this is also going to be a breakered bus bar here for 110 power off of the shore power. In addition, with some shelving here, which is in its fixed position, very bottom shelf rollout. Let's go ahead and take a look at the passenger side pump panel. You can see in the upper left, this is going to be your strainer location. In the center is your large diameter intake. And on the far right, you're going to find large diameter discharge, in addition with a 2.5-inch discharge. Let's go ahead and move all the way down to the left-hand side here. This is where you're going to find your cab lift configuration for raising and lowering the cab, in addition with the activate. Down at the very bottom, you're going to find your water strainer drain and some additional pump drains and large diameter discharge drains. You have the same fold-out step on the opposite side as you do on this side. And as you can see underneath, your pump panel is fully enclosed. Let's go ahead and move up to the very front of the apparatus. This roll-up compartment door has the same configuration. The only difference is the accessible pike pole on this side, or long pole attachment on this side, but mirrors the opposite side also. Generalized view here of the cab of the apparatus. Let's talk about some of the components there. First, let's start in the driver's side door. You're going to find these warning labels just under the latch. Please take a look at these warning labels. They're located on all of the doors of the apparatus for personnel. Let's go ahead and look at the individual latch configuration and window configurations. At the top, you have a pull handle, in addition with a pull latch for the door. You can see in the center of the pull latch, this is the locking mechanism to lock the door from the inside. There is also this red strap on the hinge side of the door for ease of access for pulling yourself in and out. You also have red seat belts, which are an indicator to show the operator before he moves the apparatus that they are visible to all occupants. Generalized view over the operator's head. Let's now move to the operator's seat. This is an air ride seat and has a variety of adjustments for comfort. Underneath the right-hand side of the apparatus, or the front seat, you'll find this air inflating and de-inflating switch, also with a yellow handle for tilt and forward on the level. Let's talk about this label here. This is your Pierce apparatus manufactured by label. It houses the job number, date of manufacture. It also houses the VIN, and it also houses gross vehicle weight ratings. There is also information on this placard regarding the fluid types, the amount of fluid, and the actual type of fluid. That's what's on this label here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the front operator's area. As you can see, the right, you have your gas treadle and brake treadle. And to the left-hand side, we'll talk about this next component. This is about knee height, and these are going to be a set of controls. Upper left is your on-off battery switch in silver. To the right in green is your engine, transmission, and ABS diagnostic port. Underneath that, you'll find your ABS, DP and regen, engine diagnostic, and engine inhibit switch. Let's go ahead and start with some information here on the column itself. Underneath the column area, you'll find your hazard lights. It's a pull-out, push-in switch. Just on the column itself, left and right turn indicators, where the keys are currently stored, and also the pull to flash the headlights. Let's go ahead and move down further on the column. As we move further on the column, you'll find a push for telescoping your steering column, and a pull. Here's a close-up of that image there now. You can see pull to tilt. This is for your steering column. Let's go ahead and look on the left-hand side of your apparatus, and we'll talk about some of the components in this area. Starting on the very left far side, you're going to find your ignition switch. Just up from that, you'll find the start switch. This is also start and stop. In the center of this image, you'll find an EM switch. That stands for emergency master. It's for your lights, for warning lights. To the right of that is going to be your headlights, and to the far right of that location you'll see the switch that says panel. Those are to dim or brighten the panel lights. Your steering wheel is encompassed here with a front airbag, which is your SRS. There is an airbag located in this, and you also have one on the passenger side. On the right knee area of the operator, you'll find two controls here. These are the right and left main mirror and convex mirror controls. These are for your exterior mirrors. The switches are associated with controlling each of those individual mirrors. Let's go ahead and take a look at the general dash. The current picture is with it in the test position, indicating that all of the lights are illuminated. Let's start in the upper left, and you can see we have DEF, oil, water, and transmission. You have your speedometer and tachometer, and on the right you have volts, fuel, front and rear air. Located on the right hand side at the right knee level, you'll find your high idle, which is an indicator light to engage the high idle. You can then go ahead and switch the high idle switch just to the left of it to the on position to gain control of that. Let's talk about some of the controls here. These are all switches located in the upper middle section. You have your cluster at the top, which houses your front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. And you also have what I would consider a mystery switch. I'm not sure if that is your push to talk for your headset or a reverse kill switch. That is not clear in my definitions here. So I'll let you look that up when you get your apparatus. Let's move down to the next section. You have at the very bottom, you have your stationary OK to pump while rolling. You have your water pump, foam system, your CAFS system to start that, your pump and roll, and your open TTP valve. To the right of those switches, you'll find your windshield wiper and wash, push for wash, and right and left turn for low, medium, and high, and then all the way to your left is the off position. Next set of switches here, you're going to find your engine brake on off. You'll find a settings for your engine brake for low, medium, and high. In red, your fuel primer. This is to activate your tire chains. You also have mirror heat and the switch for your load manager. Down in the next section, you're going to find your parking brake. This is apply to set the parking brake, push to release. These are for your rear wheels. And also just to that, your Allison transmission pad, which you can see pump in neutral. Generalized view of the center console of your apparatus. In the upper right side, you'll see this monitor. This is for your right and left camera, your front-facing camera, and also your rear-facing camera. So all of your cameras go through this monitor and the one on the pump panel. In the center on the dash, you're going to find your climate control for heat and defrost, and also for your air conditioning, clearly identified in those individual gray, red, and blue sections. Let's go ahead and look overhead. This is overhead of the operator. You're going to find your traffic advisor. That's the pendulum piece hanging down here, your piece of equipment for on and off, and the direction of your traffic advisor. Just overhead from that location, you're going to find some push on and off red and white lights, in addition with your stereo set speakers. But let's take a look on the left-hand side at this placard. This is the placard indicating your height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating. Your vehicle is rated at 10 feet 2 inches, length of 32, 3.5 inches, and 25 tons. This is also an additional location for the job number of your apparatus, which is also on that yellow placard at about feet level. Over the head of the operator, you're going to find your emergency master, your roof lights, your front warning, your side warning, lower rear warning, and your upper rear warning switches. Let's go ahead and move just a little further to the right-hand side. You're going to find a high beam flash switch. This is the on-off for your Opticom. This is the choice of siren or horn, electric, horn, or air horn. And then on the very far right, your red switch, which is your siren brake. Moving further over to the right, you're going to find while you're engaged in pumping and rolling, you'll find your pump pressure, a digital readout. In addition with your tank visions. This is for the water tank and also for your foam tank. Moving just over to the right, you're going to find this indicator. This is your Pierce seatbelt indicator. It will display in red if someone is seated in the seat and not belted, green if they are seating in the seat with a belt on. Also located in this vicinity, you're going to find once again your traffic advisor, but just in front of that traffic advisor, you'll find a red puck or black and red puck. That puck is for your light for having a compartment door in the open position or ajar. That will flash. This is it here. Do not move the apparatus until you've securely identified all your compartments are in the closed position. That's what this light is for here. Looking from the operator's perspective toward the center of your apparatus, you'll find a mounting pad in addition with what's currently mounted on it, what appears to be apparatus pre-plans or map book holders. Looking back to the very back section of your apparatus, in the center you'll find two center-mounted SCBA seats, which means there are SCBAs mounted within the seat, also with the red seat belt for visual identification. Just forward of that location, you'll find right and left LED mounted battery charging stations for your LED lights. They're both on the right and also on the left-hand side. There are two on each configuration here. Generalized view of the outside of the apparatus from the operator's side or driver's side looking inward. Once again, you'll find at the access points all doors have the warning labels regarding the access and use of seat belts. Looking inside the cab in the center console or side console, you'll find a roll-up door in addition with an adjustable shelf. In this compartment, it also has lights for in the evening hours to illuminate items within this compartment. The opposite side is identical to this. Just behind, which would be the rear section, there are also these full compartments which have the capability of housing shelves but are currently not in this location. It also has illumination within this compartment. Looking overhead, directly over the operator and passenger's head, just to the rear of that, you'll find an additional compartment in this location. And as we move in between the passenger and driver location in the rear section, you'll find in the center this access door. This is the access door for getting into your fluids for oil and transmission. These are for your daily checks so that you don't have to tilt the cab and you can gain access to those. Here's a view with that compartment in the open position. You can see in yellow is your engine and in red is the transmission. Let's move back to the rear compartment here. This is going to be that compartment on the passenger side. Same configuration as the opposite side, roll-up door, shelf, and lighting inside. Let's go ahead and move to the very front of your apparatus, passenger side. As you look inside this, there is an adjustable seat in this location for comfort. You'll find on the left-hand side, front of this seat, is the control for the inflate or deflate for the air ride system. And also the seat belt is once again color-coded in red. This seat also houses a SCBA pull-out style quick access for your SCBA. This vehicle is also equipped in the front with a SRS, which is a supplemental restraint system. It's the large black item on the dash. Do not block that area, and there's a warning sign underneath that. That's also the location of your fluid for your windshield wipers. On the dash itself, you have two barrel-style 12 volts and a barrel style on the side, in addition with your mechanical siren brake and also the activation for your mechanical siren. The red cover, the black cover is going to be for your 12 volt style barrel plugs. In this blue, this is a push to talk for your headset system. In the very center, you'll find also access to your radio. This is for your headset system. And just overhead of the passenger side, you're going to have access in this top portion here with your radio. It's all-weather Bluetooth Sirius XM, in addition with speakers throughout the cab. Also located, you have a lanyard for pulling of your air horn. And at the very top in blue, once again, a push-to-talk headset connection location. Congratulations, Caldwell Fire Department, on your new apparatus, job number 29686. If you have any questions in regards to the content of this video, please contact your Hughes salesperson, and have a nice day. And once again, congratulations on your new apparatus.